Hi, everyone. It's Henry DeVries. I'm the CEO of Indie Books International. Welcome to this week's podcast on marketing with a book. We're so glad you could be here. Today, it's about rocking the short talk and that 5-minute talk that you're asked to give. So that's what we're studying today. Before we get into it, and we have several examples and our expert, Eleni Kelakos, with us, we're going to do our author roll call. And even the participants in today, you're still in the author roll call. So we'll start off. And I'd like to start it off with Eleni, and then Mark, and then Harriet. So if you could introduce yourself and the title of your book. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eleni Kelakos. I'm the author of 2 books, Touch the Sky and Claim the Stage, A Woman's Guide to Speaking Up, Standing Out, and Taking Leadership.
Thanks, Eleni. Mark, and then Harriet.
Thank you, Henry. My name is Mark LeBlanc out of Minneapolis, and currently working on my next book, Rainmaker Confidential, co-authored with Henry and Scott Love.
Thanks. Astrid, and then Christopher.
My name is Harriet Russell. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and the name of my book, published by Indie Books International, is Doing Business with Ease Overseas, Building Cross-Cultural Relationships That Last.
Thanks.
That was me. Nope. I'm sorry, Astrid. Go ahead.
I think am I next?
Yes.
Yes, Astrid, then Christopher. My fault.
Hi, everybody. I'm Astrid Baumgartner from New York City. I'm the author of Creative Success Now, How Creatives Can Thrive in the 21st Century.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Hodges. I'm the author of the upcoming Noble Automation Now, and that's Innovate, Motivate, and Transform with Intelligent Automation out of Denver, Colorado.
Thanks. How about David, Diane, and then Dr. Carey? David, you're on mute.
Hi, thanks, Henry. Hi, I'm David Goldman. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I wrote the book, The Road to Happiness, How to Get What You Really Want.
Diane.
Hello, I'm Diane Ployce from the San Francisco Bay Area. The book I'm working on is Important Questions to Ask Before You Buy a Franchise.
Thank you. And let's have Jim Connolly and Joe Paulo.
And Henry, do you want me to go too?
Oh, yes, Dr. Carey, sorry.
Hi, I'm Dr. Carey out of Denver, Colorado, and I am in the midst of fielding Henry's remarkable edits on my book, Self-Help on the Go.
And now, was it Joe and Joe Paulo?
Sure, I can go. Joe Paulo, title of the book, How to Sell Nothing. And even though I'm working on the book and I'm delinquent with Henry, we need to set up a time because I need some help.
Okay. John Lockhorst.
Hi, I'm John Lockhorst, and my book is Mission Critical Leadership, also published by Indie Books, and I am based in the Minneapolis, Minnesota area as well.
Thanks. How about Mason and then Patrick?
Hello, everybody. I'm Mason Harris. I set out to write a book about 7 habits of highly successful people, only to realize that somebody else had already written it. So I changed it to the chutzpah advantage, and I added a rule. And this is my book with the help of the Indie Books family, the chutzpah advantage.
Oh, Patrick McGowan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Patrick McGowan, and I am the author of the soon to be coming out book. Soon is a relative term, but the soon to come out book, Better Video Now.
Okay. And then I'll go. Hi, I'm Henry DeVries. I'm the author of the book Marketing with a Book. And I work with independent consultants who want to attract high-paying clients by marketing with a book and a speech. So it's the speech part we're talking about today. So Mark Twain said, if you want me to speak for 2 hours, I'm ready today. If you want me to speak for 5 minutes, I'm going to need a month to prepare. So we're going to have 4 examples of that today. But first, we have our author, Eleni Kelakos, to talk about rocking the short talk. So Eleni, take it away.
Thank you, Henry. I love that quote. So let me tell you about my client, Crystal. Crystal had to overcome incredible challenges in order to start a new life in a new country. And now Crystal works as a coach, helping other women find their voice and their courage so that they can build their own new, more fulfilling lives. Crystal reached out to me for help when she was asked at the very last minute to participate in a very prestigious online summit. She'd never done anything like this before. And she said, you know, I have only 1 week to put together a short talk. It needs to be 7 minutes long, not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, but 7 minutes. I'm going to be in front of my ideal audience, speaking alongside world-class thought leaders, and it's going to be videotaped. This is a huge amount of stress and pressure. This talk really matters. So I don't just want it to be good. I want it to be great. But here's the problem. I don't even know where to start. I said, don't worry, I do. First, I'll help you structure it. Then we'll flesh it out, prune it, and rehearse it, okay? Well, Crystal was all in, so we rolled up our sleeves and we went to work. The first thing that we did was structure her presentation using my short talk formula. We focused the talk around Crystal's compelling story. And the structure very quickly helped us make choices about what content to put in and what content to leave out. And then we started finessing the talk. To do this, Crystal spoke it out loud against the clock over and over again until we nipped it and pruned it and massaged it so that it fit very nicely and easily within 7 minutes. And it said exactly what Crystal wanted to say. By the end of a week's time of diligent work, we were both very satisfied that Crystal's talk was exactly what it needed to be. Crystal, I said, it's on you now, my friend. You got to keep rehearsing it out loud. You got to make it your own. You've got to do whatever it takes to learn this puppy inside out. And after you give your talk, let me know how it went. And the email that I got from Crystal after the summit, it was just overflowing with joy, joy, happy, happy. My talk went great, she said. I got so much positive feedback and I'm so happy. But don't take my word for it, she wrote. Watch the attached video. See for yourself. So I did. I watched Crystal's video. Sure enough, she delivered it with fire and with confidence. And as I watched, I thought, dang, this talk has everything it needs and none of what it doesn't need to help Crystal shine. This is a rockin' short talk. Rockin'. Crystal's short talk rocked because it was built on strong choices that built a strong, clear structure. As Crystal discovered, structure is where a great short talk starts. Structure is where a great short talk starts. Structure gives you a foundation on which to securely stand and parameters in which to play and to feel safe. Structure also keeps you from going off into the weeds, which is critical when you only have a teeny window of time in which to deliver the goods. Now, the structure that Crystal used for her presentation was what I call my S.P.E.A.K short talk formula, S.P.E.A.K. I always recommend my S.P.E.A.K formula to clients who want to deliver a lot of wow in 10 minutes or under. In fact, the S.P.E.A.K formula is the one that I'm actually illustrating in my short talk right now. I've built this talk around S.P.E.A.K. So in a nutshell, S.P.E.A.K starts with a story. S is for story, a significant story, a story that can effectively illustrate and lead you to your point. I did that just now. I kicked things off with Crystal's story, right? So you may be wondering why start with a story? Because stories are sticky. Stories are easy to remember. For both you and your audience, your brain loves stories. Stories, especially stories that are yours to tell. Stories you've lived through because you own them, right? Nobody else has those stories but you. I also really like mess to success stories. Henry, that is what you call them. That is when you tell a story that shows how you helped a client get from ickiness to greatness. And I like those stories for a couple of reasons. One, because they not only help your audience know and feel what it would be like to work with you, but they help people in your audience want the solution that the story illustrates. So story leads to point. After I told you Crystal's story, I laid out the point in a nutshell. I said, and I quote, as Crystal learned, structure is where a great short talk starts. In fact, I even repeated it so you get it and you would hear it. Story leads to point. One story, one point. Don't confuse your audience by making multiple points with one story. Your point should be easy to speak. It should be easy to remember. And in a rockin' short talk, it should essentially convey the essence of the talk, the essence of the talk. Now, E comes next. E comes next. S.P.E. E is for evidence or elaboration. This is the time in a short talk where you shore up your point with additional supportive information. I mean, it could be all kinds of things, data, quotes. Think of it as scaffolding that supports your point. In fact, I've been sharing evidence and elaborating on my point ever since I made my point after Crystal's story. I introduced the concept of my S.P.E.A.K formula. This is my evidence. I'm working you through the acronym and the concepts. We've been squarely in the E section of the S.P.E.A.K formula for, for about 2 minutes. Story, point, evidence. Following E comes A, which is short for aha or application. I love this one. This is one of my favorite moments in a presentation. It's a moment when you say or do something that helps your audience connect more deeply with your big point and with the concepts that you've shared. So based on this short talk, here's an example. So think about it for a minute. How do you think structuring, practicing, and delivering a rockin' short talk using the S.P.E.A.K formula might change your business for the better? Might attract the clients that need exactly what you have to offer. That's A for aha or application. That's you helping your audience connect more deeply with the point that you've just made. So S.P.E.A. you're right. There's one more letter left. One more critical piece needed to complete the S.P.E.A.K formula, and that's K. K is for conclusion. Okay, I know it's misspelled, but what are you going to do? Conclusion, which is where we've arrived in my short talk. Simply put, it means reaffirming the point of your short talk and driving it home in a way that moves your audience into thought, feeling, or action, which in this case goes like this. So now you know the S.P.E.A.K formula for rockin' a short talk. S is for story. P is for point. E is for evidence. A is for aha. K is for conclusion. The S.P.E.A.K formula creates structure, a solid foundation on which you can squarely stand and deliver a rockin' short talk that can attract more business and sell more books. Your wisdom and your big idea matter. So build and share your rockin' short talk and use your words to change your world. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleni. I was short. I was had a hard time on the draw there. Excellent. Thank you. And 4 of us went through Eleni's workshop on this and agreed to volunteer to do a demo short talk right now. So we're going to have our 4 people. Devin's going to be up first. Devin DeVries is the Vice President of Production and Promotion at Indie Books International. She works with consultants who want to attract high-paying clients by marketing with a seminar. She's here to talk about how to attract clients with seminars.
Seven years ago, when I was hired at Indie Books International, I had one condition, and that was to never, ever, ever make me do public speaking. So naturally, here I am speaking to you today. And the reason I tell you that story is because I know what it feels like to have a professional challenge that feels insurmountable. And I know a lot of people feel that way about marketing, especially if they're an independent and it's just one more thing on your never-ending to-do list. But a funny thing happened to me as I was working behind the scenes at Indie Books, and I saw us put into place this small-scale seminar strategy to market. And it was a game changer. And then we taught our authors how to use it to attract clients to their businesses. And over time, it just got to the point that I thought this message is so important. I can't hold myself back from out of fear of speaking. I had to get this message out. And my intention today is to show you how this small-scale seminar strategy can be a game changer for your business, but also to encourage you that if this feels really challenging or outside of your comfort zone, that if I can do it, you can do it, and I'm here to support you. So I'd like to tell you about Michael. Michael is a brilliant storytelling expert out of Hollywood. He works with screenwriters and fiction authors. He's the guy that Will Smith calls up when he wants advice on his next project. And Michael had come to us with his latest book, which is called Storytelling Made Easy, which is geared at business professionals using those same Hollywood storytelling techniques in their presentations, books, and marketing materials. But Michael's challenge was this was a totally new audience for him. And he came to us asking, how do I get in front of these people? How do I connect with them? We said, well, you know what? Our number one piece of advice is to put on your own small scale seminar. And what that is just, it's usually a no cost or a low cost presentation, gives them a chance to experience you, see your style, show that you're the expert you're talking about, and that will attract the right fit clients. Michael was a little hesitant. He had some concerns. One being he's never had to host or market his own events. So we said, we will do it with you. We will help you. We will teach you our secret weapon of using LinkedIn to fill the room. And let's do 2 events and see how it goes. So we decided to start with marketing professionals in Portland, and we built the topic around the book, Storytelling Made Easy. We used LinkedIn to fill the room. And then before the event, we told Michael about the kind of the offer that we wanted to make sure he made at the end of the event. Because for this to really work, you need to make sure there is an easy next step for these prospects to take with you. So we said, we want you to offer a 30-minute no-cost strategy call to them. Now, this is where Michael had concerns. So his concern was he just gave a 3-hour no-cost workshop. We wanted him to do another 30-minute call. He thought they're going to take all this for free and walk away. They're not going to want to hire him. We said, you know, I understand the concern, but it's not what we see happens. What happens is, yes, you gave really valuable information in that workshop, but it was still on a pretty broad, spectrum. And what they're going to want is to hire you for the specifics. But what doing those two things does is show that 1, you are the expert you say you are, and 2, that you're generous with your time and information. And that is attractive to prospects. So Michael agreed to do it. We had 19 people come to his first event in Portland. We had the form, 18 people checked, yes, I want the follow-up strategy call. Turns out the 19th person in the room was his sister-in-law that had come to support him. So we actually count it as a 100% success rate. And within a week of the event, he had a client who bought a package that covered the whole expenses of marketing that event. A month later, we had the second event in Nashville. And at that one, they didn't even want to wait for the strategy call. He had somebody who hired him that day. So that's how powerful this strategy can be. And what I want to encourage you to start thinking about is, what is your topic? What is the challenge on the mind of your ideal prospect that you can create an event around? And I want to encourage you to try this strategy. Now, we like to demonstrate everything we want you to do. So if you're feeling like you don't know where to start, it's too much, I want to offer you a no-cost strategy call to talk about this. We can talk about the strategy, we can talk about how you use LinkedIn, or any other kind of online marketing question you might have. I'm happy to do that. And I can be contacted. You can find my contact info at indiebooksinternational.com. But what I want to leave you with is, if I can stand on this stage and share this with you, you can stand on the stage and talk to your ideal prospect. And in the end, you will have more clients for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Great job. Okay, next up. Let me pull this over. Okay. Patrick McGowan, founder of Punchin, works with speakers and authors who want to level up their video presence to have more confidence, more engagement, and more influence. Please welcome Patrick.
I confidently unmuted myself. Thank you, Henry, for that. If you don't know who Nick Biddle is, you probably should. Nick lives with his beautiful family in the thriving metropolis of Corn, Oklahoma, which actually can be found smack dab in the middle, right in between Las Vegas, Nevada to the west, and Savannah, Georgia to the east. It's right smack in the middle. Yes, I measured it. And when he and I first met, he was actually renovating an historic bank in downtown Corn. And yes, I said downtown Corn. Nick is an author, and he has built a thriving public speaking and training business over the past decade or so, and with over 80 in-person public speaking engagements annually, somewhere around there. He is actually the perfect example of what Jeff Bezos, the former executive, former CEO of Amazon and now astronaut, once said. Jeff said, every overnight success is actually 10 years in the making. Nick, who when you meet him, is somewhere between between a linebacker and a foreman. In fact, in one of my public workshops, I told Nick he's looking a little square on camera, and he said, it's funny, you should see me in person. But he has the stature of someone who is intimately familiar with success and deeply and humbly appreciative of what it's taken to get him where he is today. So in April 2020, at the start of the pandemic, Nick was grounded. Grounded like a 14-year-old who just skipped curfew. And like the rest of us, he had to figure out how to make things work, including adapting to this new video first reality. But it wasn't easy. The pandemic hit us all. It hit us all, and it hit us hard. Like the great poet and strategist Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And we all, like Nick, had a plan for 2020, but got punched in the mouth. For Nick, the way he said it really resonated with me. He said, I dreaded getting on camera. There I was, all I had was my craptastic laptop camera sitting at my dining room table with bad dining room lighting. I knew I wasn't showing up the way that I should. These are Nick's words. I knew I wasn't showing up the way I should. And that really, really bothered me. For Nick, but you could tell, but excuse me, but if you couldn't already tell, Nick isn't the type of guy who just sits back and lets his circumstances determine his success. By the time he and I met, he knew what he needed to do, but more importantly, what he wanted to do to exceed the expectations of his clients. The question that Nick was asking, and the question I ask all my clients, is does your video reflect the value of your product and services that you deliver? For Nick, he knew it did not reflect the value of the products and services he delivered, and that was what was so disappointing for him, but also what he dreaded when he was getting on video in those first few days of the pandemic. So Nick and I worked together, and what we did is we got Nick set up on a prosumer technology platform, and Nick made this investment he made this investment, but he also made the investment in the coaching, and he put the time and the effort into this leap forward in his video presence. In fact, Now he says he has reached his goal of actually converting 50% of his business to virtual. What I really appreciate about what Nick did, and what we all have the opportunity to do, is that he didn't just level up his video presence for his sake. Yes, when we level up our video presence, it's clear that when we know we look better, we feel better. And when we feel better, we do better. And that is so true for Nick. But even more importantly, what Nick did is he made an investment in his clients' engagement, in his clients' ability to engage with him. The content hasn't changed, but the medium has. And we have to be in a place where we can increase our own watchability for our clients' sake. And this is exactly what Nick did. In fact, in a conversation I had with Nick recently, the one thing he said was to me, and this is going to stick with me for a long time. He said, "What you did for me, Patrick, is you gave me, I have so much more confidence today than I did before at the beginning of the pandemic. In fact, I love getting on camera now."
Thank you, Patrick. And I turn the talking stick to Mark.
Henry DeVries of Indie Books International is with us today to share 3 secrets of persuasive storytelling.
Thank you for inviting me to answer the question, why does Hollywood only make 8 movies? These are uncertain times, but in these uncertain times, there's something that every business needs: more clients. These are emotional times, and to connect with more clients and to be more influential, you need to be a persuasive storyteller. I'll never forget the time I was invited to give my Persuade with a Story workshop at a big LA law firm. After the workshop, the managing director, let's call him Bernie the attorney, Bernie takes me back into his private office. And the private office is filled with movie memorabilia and posters. And Bernie explained, "I'm a Hollywood attorney, but Grandpa was a famous producer in Hollywood in the 1920s, and Dad was a famous producer in Hollywood in the 1940s and the 1950s. You know, you solved a mystery for me today, because Grandpa used to always say, well, we only make 8 movies in Hollywood. And I never knew what he meant until today." That's going to be one of the 3 storytelling secrets I'm going to share with you today. But first, let's go back in time. Let's go back to before I learned these persuasive storytelling techniques. I struggled to find clients. I was in your shoes. I was a business leader and an independent consultant, and the wolf was always at my door. Now I've trained thousands in how to use these business development storytelling techniques. 3 secrets, here they are. Secret number 1, use the 8 great stories. Hollywood uses them all the time. It's the overcoming the monster problem story. It's the underdog story. It's the comic solution. It's the tragic solution. It's the mystery. It's the quest, the rebirth, and the escape. Psychologists like Sigmund Freud or Carl Jung, they tell us that human beings are hardwired for these 8 stories. We need to hear these stories. We long to hear them. So you'll be amazed at how you can use these stories to turn prospects into lifelong business contacts. Secret number 2, use the 1, 2, 3 formula. Telling a Hollywood story is easy as 1, 2, 3. There's a hero, a nemesis, and a mentor. If you like Star Wars, there's Luke Skywalker, there's Darth Vader, and of course, there's Yoda, the mentor. New research in neuroscience has proved that people make decisions based on emotion, not logic. But how do we tap into the emotional part of the brain? Well, this is where stories come in. Stories reach people on this level. So emulate Hollywood. It's the emotion picture capital of the world. Secret number 3, your stories matter. You need to tell your stories. You're taking a client from problem to solution, from mess to success. These are the powerful stories. You have a hidden asset that no one else has. Your defining stories. Stories matter. Take the TV show Shark Tank. They get 180,000 applications to be on that show every year, but they only choose 18 people to go on. Why? They base it on their stories. As a Forbes.com columnist, I see how most businesses describe themselves in the same drab way. When I was writing my bestseller, How to Close a Deal Like Warren Buffett, I learned how this business legend uses stories to persuade, to gain media coverage, and to build a worldwide brand. Now, I want you to think about something else for a moment. Have you ever tried to persuade a prospect and it didn't work? Of course, we all have. But have you ever run into them later and found out what happened? This happened to a mentor of mine. He ran into a prospect he had talked to but failed to persuade 7 years later at a party. And she related that things had not gone well for her. But whose fault was that? My mentor knew it was his fault. He wasn't persuasive enough. If an arrow doesn't hit a target, it's never the fault of the target. If we don't persuade the prospect, it's never the prospect's fault. Now, I don't know you personally. I don't know all of you personally. I think I know something about you. You do noble work. You help people, and you need to do more of the work you are called and compelled to do. So I leave you with a challenge. I challenge you to learn and use the storytelling secrets so you can have more impact and influence. Thank you. Mark LeBlanc is with us today and will share the one thing that can make the biggest difference in your life and work. When Mark is not coaching or speaking, he often goes on short 500-mile walks. Please welcome Mark LeBlanc.
It's true. I went on a short 500-mile walk across Spain. It was the most grueling and the most profound experience of my life. Most people believe or think that reaching Santiago changed me. It was what I learned on the very first day that changed my life forever. But enough about me. What do you want? Would it surprise you to hear that question is the second most difficult question for people to answer? It's true. Everyone wants something. What do you want? Maybe you want to start a business, double your revenues. Maybe you want to write that book. Maybe you want to lose that 17 pounds forever. Maybe you want more passion in your relationship. Or maybe you just want a relationship. After clocking over 20,000 one-on-one coaching hours, I believe the reason most ordinary individuals do not get what they want is, number one, it takes too long. And number two, they cannot see their progress. Listen carefully. You can get clarity on what you want. You can create a path that you can stay on or get back on. You can become as successful as you are capable of becoming. And you can turn your life into an adventure. Let's go back to Spain. I will never forget in 2008, for the first time in my life, I knew what it meant to experience burnout. My personal life was in a bit of shambles. I had just completed a professional year as president of the National Speakers Association, a group of 3,500 speakers and no listeners. When we turned the lights out at our national meeting, I was as exhausted as I have ever been. I was on fumes. For the first time, I knew what burnt out really was. So I did what anyone would do. I shaved my head shiny bald. I had always wanted to do that. I put a backpack on for the first time in my life. I told my clients that I would be gone for 5 weeks, and I was scared to death. I flew to Paris. I took a train to a little village in southern France called Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. I was ready, or so I thought. Even though my backpack was severely overpacked, nothing would prepare me for what I was about to embark on. I took my first step. The Camino does not break you in gently. In fact, the first day is the most challenging day, as you are not even leaving the little village of Saint Jean, and you are already ascending Mount Lepeter. I walked and I walked and I walked. Did I tell you that it had started to rain? Imagine a bald, burned out Mark LeBlanc with too much in his backpack trekking up a mountain. Who does that? I had not even gone 2 miles and I thought I was going to die. I thought if I was a farmer along this way, people have been walking the Camino for over 1,000 years. I'd set up a bench alongside the road and maybe serve lemonade or iced tea. And there, just around the bend, maybe 100 yards or so up in front of me, was a bench alongside the road. I could not believe I was stopping for my first rest break after just 2 miles. I took my backpack off, and that's when it hit me. I had 498 miles to go. Immediately, I began to think, maybe this is one more broken commitment to myself. Maybe I could walk back the 2 miles in the rain, take a bus to Barcelona, and just hang out for 5 weeks. No one would ever know. I sat on that bench in the rain and I thought about all the goals that I had set or discarded along the way. I put my backpack back on and took the next step up that day's climb up and over the mountain. It was day one that changed me. At dinner that night, I had a conversation with a woman named Judith from England. It was her 3rd year of walking a portion of the Camino. She didn't look like a walker. I didn't tell her that. That was my inner voice. But in the course of our conversation, I asked her, Judith, do you have any advice for me? This is my first day and I'm ready to die. Mark, I've learned one thing. No matter how badly your feet are bruised and blistered and bleeding, you can always take one more step. I hung on to that pearl of wisdom for over 1 million steps walking across Spain. In fact, next summer, I will do that same 500-mile walk for the 4th time. What do you want? Here is your step. Write down the 10 things that you want in the next 10 years. That's it. Sign it and date it. You do not even need to know how it's going to happen. The how will always follow the want. If the second most difficult question to answer is what do you want? Here's the first. What are you willing to do in order to get more of what you want? On those days when you feel like throwing in the towel and your confidence is low and you cannot see your finish line, know that you know a guy in downtown Minneapolis who believes in you. I believe in you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everybody. I'd like to do a quick round now with the panelists, and then Eleni's going to be last. So it'll go Mark, Henry, Patrick, Devin, Eleni. And you can have the talking stick for up to a minute. But in doing this, going through the exercise, is there some insight that jumped out of you, some point that you wanted to share? Mark?
This is really hard and messy and noble work. I've told that story 1,000 times in the last 12 years, and I left out a lot. I had to, because of Eleni's training, I had to cut out a lot. And so it was awkward to me. It was like putting on a new suit or a new coat today. And but here's the thing, I like it. And I think that I had sort of rested on how I was sharing the story. And I think this is, I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm just thrilled.
Thanks. Mine was, it's one thing to hear a speak formula. It's another thing to put together the 5-minute talk using it and then practice it over and over again, to listen to it and edit and time it. But some things that I didn't have in there before was sharing that I've been in people's shoes and struggled with this, to share with the story that, have you ever failed to do it? Well, I've had a mentor who failure was part of the process, and then leaving with the challenge, which was the intent of what I wanted them to know. So all great takeaways. Patrick, do you have something to share?
Yeah, thank you, Henry. I think oh, hold on one second. My camera is going to focus. This is there. See, I told you.
Hey, Patrick, I heard something the other day that, what if Bigfoot is just blurry?
Are you comparing
okay, go ahead.
You're comparing me to Bigfoot now.
You were there. It was a little blurry.
No, I think the thing that really stuck out for me, and this is I like the structure. I like the S.P.E.A.K acronym. It's a great starting point, but it also helps with that narrative arc to be able to bring in the heart, mind, and soul, as well as a little bit of laughter. You get to start weaving this whole textile together in order for everybody to be able to see it. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or if it's 15 minutes, the structure is still there. It's just then a matter of elaboration and detail after that. But the structure is what's really helped me the most.
Hey, Patrick, do you think in a bar Jeff Bezos leads with, I'm the richest man in the world, or I'm an astronaut?
I'm going to say astronaut at this point. Yeah,
okay.
That's Devin? What I would.
Oh, and I own this bar.
Okay. Oh, by the way, exactly. And there are no bathrooms.
Yeah, so I would say what I took from it was also the practice preparation time as well. Because my story was also one that I've told a lot of times, but Eleni and I met, she was gracious enough to meet 3 times to help me practice, plus all the time I needed to kind of talk it out and practice myself. So there was a lot of prep that went into it. And then the other thing I think was also just figuring out what the personal connection to it was. Because mine's a little more technical. It needed something personal to connect to the audience. And that's what we spent a lot of time working on. And that was really helpful.
Thank you, Devin. So teacher Eleni, any closing thoughts?
Well, I was just sitting here beaming and squirming happily in my chair. You know, what I know and what I saw is that the more we work the material, the more it reveals itself to us. You know, we were all in the same boat today. I tried an angle of my own short talk to try to model the talk around S.P.E.A.K as I taught S.P.E.A.K. And, you know, it is just like the first stab, and you've worked it out loud, and you're working on it and you're working on it. This process, like any good process, reveals itself to you as you speak it out loud. But that structure, as Patrick said, is underneath it all. How you come at that structure, and this is what I'm really taking away, is how beautifully people customized this, what they hung on the structure. You know, the content is what gives that structure the feeling of you. And every one of you came at this that way. And it was marvelous for me to see this on my end. I mean, I was thrilled on so many levels. You know, I have lots to say to all of you, but really, I say this, I've written this in my upcoming book, but you know, don't shirk the work. You know, thinking about it is one thing, doing it is another. And I want to call Devin out in particular here, because Devin, it was challenging. Sometimes, you know, the process kind of comes at you and you just want to step out of the room when it does, you know. And you have to be patient with yourself, and in the doing it, you step into the murky middle of discomfort. And there's all this great learning and growth that happens. And I watched Devin go through this, and it was fun to be in your corner and hand in hand go through that together. But the truth of the matter is, we are all in the same boat, walking through the murky middle of discomfort together as we move toward mastery. And that's what you all are doing. And I felt quite privileged to have had any little tiny influence on you at all with these beautiful presentations.
Eleni, tell them about your workshop, please.
Why, yes. I have a Rock Your Short Talk workshop. My next one is happening in September, right at this moment. I should know the date, but I do not. I will say this much, it's a great deal, and I welcome you to come and participate, because for a mere, I forget, $595 or something of that nature. Can't remember that either. That's where my mind is today. You will participate for 3 hours. I will teach you this. We will work you through the elements of your short talk. And then we hang out together at your discretion for 90 minutes. 90 minutes of one-on-one time where we finesse it and work it. That is, I personally think it's one of my favorite things to do. And I keep the groups small, so I have a lot of time with you during those 3 hours. You
Thanks,
can
Eleni.
find out more about it if you go to my website.
Yeah, maybe Suzanne can put what's your website address?
Or write to me directly too. My website is www.rockin, theelenigroup.com.
Thank you.
THEELENI.
Yeah. And for all our authors, we've got opportunities coming up for you to showcase at the October 29th IFF Forum Fall Fling. And Eleni's also going to do a workshop for just especially for all the indie book authors who sign up for that. And that'll be on October 8th, preceding it. Also at the forum next March in La Jolla, there'll be speaking opportunities there that you can sign up for and turn these into videos. I'm excited about the Fall Fling. I'm excited about the forum when we actually get to be in a real hotel on a real stage and have cameras and lights. And those videos are going to help us land other speaking spots because people need to see you stand and deliver. So thank you so much to everyone today, and thanks to our authors and thanks to our listeners. And I look forward to visiting with you on our next Marketing with a Book podcast. Bye, everybody.